Hi, I'm Welly, your personal estate agent covering the London Borough of Enfield. Thank you very much for making the time to join me on this video. In front of me is a property that was recently withdrawn from the sales market, and for whatever reason, it was listed in Palmer's Green N13. And the purpose of this video is to take a closer look at its price history and see what lessons can we learn and potentially you as homeowners can avoid in order to maximize your time on the market and hopefully attain the best possible price. Now, I've done my best to try and blur out as much information as possible, particularly the agent, because who the agent is in these examples is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter who it is, as these errors are committed across the board on an everyday basis. So the agent doesn't matter. And very often, what I hear from sellers is that they believe, and I understand why, even though it's not true, but they believe that the sale of their property, which is typically their biggest financial assets, is in better and safer hands with a more established business, a business that has a high street presence, as opposed to a personal estate agent like myself. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So let's get stuck in and have a look at the first error, which is the launch price. This was launched to the market at 675,000. Now, for those of you that are aware and understand the portal price bandings, you will know, first of all, at this level, it goes up in 50,000 increments. So it goes 650 and then 700,000. You will also understand the importance of aligning your price with one of those price bandings. As research shows, on average, properties that do receive 16% more views than properties that don't. So by missing the bandings altogether, this particular agent has denied their vendor that particular opportunity. And what we need to bear in mind is we are marketeers first, estate agents second. These prices that you see here, they are just people believe that that's the asking price. It's not the asking price. It's the marketing price. As estate agents, our job, our role, our purpose is to create the market. And once we create the market, we will then find the buyer. And once we find the buyer, we will land at the best possible price. But in order to create the market, we need to launch at a sensible and competitive price, a price that is going to entice. You know, the very principle of marketing is placing the product, in this case, the property, in front of as many eyeballs as is possible. Now, just a couple of things that I just want to touch on first of all. So, by pricing it in between the bandings means that this property will be in what I describe as no man's land. It's vitally important that you go on your buyer's journey. So you put yourself in your buyer's shoes. When they're searching on the portals, the default search is by highest price. So in order to find this, the minimum price banding that they need to search for is 700,000 before this property appears. So let's say the buyer selects, they're looking up to 700,000. Before they get to this property, they're going to have to scroll down and look at properties listed between 675 and 700,000 before they get to this. And who knows, depending on the criteria. Who knows how many properties are going to be in between that? It's vitally important that you put your property as close to the top of the page as is possible. That's number one. Number two, and as we've seen here, that 675 was an ambitious price. Now, bearing in mind, this property will be coupled with properties at 700. And again, we don't know the strategies of some of those properties. They may be listed at offers in excess of 700, a guide price of 700, i.e., they may be worth 700 or more. Bearing in mind, this property, as it turned out, isn't worth 700. It's basically making those properties look like better value. And those are the ones that are going to attract the interest. And it's making this property look, or inadvertently look, overpriced. What they would have been better off doing, if their heart in hearts really believed the value and the end game was 675,000, what they would have been better off doing is, instead of launching at 675, go offers in excess of 650, or a guide price of 650 to 675, or just 650. Okay. This was unnecessary. Now, 3 weeks later, obviously they would have just got tumbleweed at 675. That's obvious. 3 weeks later, they reduced it to 650. Now, I do have to commend the fact that they reduced the price decisively. I guess they had no choice, because they would have got zero or close to zero interest at that price. And, they were kind of forced in a corner to reduce the price. So, they've wasted 3 weeks on the market doing pretty much nothing. And again, you must understand, homeowners, the first 3 to 4 weeks on the market is the golden period. That is your window. That is the time where you're going to get the most interest and your best offers. Do not waste your time being overpriced. Nevertheless, they did act decisively. So I tip my hat off to them on that. And they reduced it to 650, which is where, as a maximum, as it turned out, still overpriced, but as a maximum, it should have started. And then from there, they just chasing down the market. Then in May, it was reduced to 635. Again, just making small reductions, which isn't going to make too much difference. And as it turned out, and then the following month, they made a further reduction. But this one I just want to focus on for a moment. Now, they reduced this by £10,000. When you're reducing a property, and again, remember, when you're reducing, it should be very, very last resort. Okay, so if you're going to reduce, sometimes you have to. The idea is that you reduce once and once only. Therefore, make that reduction count. These small reductions are just not helping. So when you're reducing, there are two golden rules. Number one, if you can, and I understand at this level it can be difficult, try and reduce to the next price banding down. As I said, at this level, it is difficult, because you're going to have to reduce by 50,000, and some vendors may be uncomfortable with that idea. I totally understand, and I sympathize with that. But the one rule that must always be adhered to, no matter what, is you must reduce by at least 2% or more. And the reason for that is, when you reduce by that percentage or more, that reduction, just like a new property alerts buyers that have a saved search alert that this property has been reduced in price. So they will be emailed on the day to say, this particular property has been reduced in price in the same way as a new property that fits your search criteria will. So it's vitally important that your buyers are alerted that a price reduction has taken place. The fact that this property wasn't reduced by 2%, i.e., it was reduced by less than 2%, means that alert did not go out, meaning this reduction was pretty pointless. Hopefully you found that video of use. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you very much.